Bruce Lee was taunted by a rival and said you first, 2 seconds later left him in pain. The Wing Chun Gym Challenge. The air in IP Man's gym was thick with tension. The smell of sweat and massage oil mixed with the muffled sound of the footsteps of students training on the Muk Yen Zhang, the Wing Chun training wood. Bruce Lee, then 19, adjusted his wrist straps as he watched the newcomer, Wong Packing, an arrogant fighter who boasted about his Hung Gar-style technique. They say you're fast, Lee Junfan, Wong sneered, using Bruce's birth name as he crossed his muscular arms. But quickness without strength is like a paper tiger. You're nothing but a kid spoiled by old IP. The students stopped their training. Ip Man, sitting on a bench in the background, raised an eyebrow but did not interfere. Bruce smiled, calmly. You talk too much, Wong. If you want to prove something, prove it on the ground. Wong laughed, snapping his fingers. Then let's go. But don't cry when I break your thin bones. Bruce didn't respond. He just pointed to the center of the mat and said, with the same calmness as before. You first. Wong didn't hesitate. He advanced with a broad punch, typical of Hung Gar, trying to catch Bruce by surprise. But before his fist reached halfway, Bruce had already dodged it with a precise punch, redirecting the blow to the side. Wong tried to recover, but Bruce was within his guard in the blink of an eye, delivering a relentless sequence, a tan saw to control the arm, followed by a bong saw to knock him off balance, and then... crack. The dry sound echoed through the gym. Wong fell to his knees, clutching his left elbow, his face contorted in pain. One of his forearm bones had been fractured by Bruce's precise blow, a gum applied with the precision of a surgeon. 2 seconds, Bruce muttered, looking at his fallen rival. I said you talked too much. The gym was silent. Wong, panting, spat on the floor. It won't stay like that, Lee. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Bruce bent down, facing him closely. Then learn to lose with dignity. Or come back when you have something other than muscles and arrogance. Wong was carried out by his companions, casting hateful glances over his shoulder. Ip Man approached, placing a hand on Bruce's shoulder. You were efficient. But efficiency without control is dangerous. One day, your speed could kill someone. Bruce nodded but didn't respond. He knew his master was right. But I also knew that, in the real world, outside the gym walls, there wasn't always room for mercy. Revenge in the shadows. 3 nights later, Bruce walked alone through the narrow streets of Kowloon, returning from an evening training session. The moon was high, but the alleys were dark, lit only by gas lamps. He sensed danger before he saw it, a quick movement in the shadows, the sound of hurried footsteps. Wong Packing emerged from an alley, accompanied by 4 men armed with bamboo sticks. His arm was bandaged, but the fury in his eyes was sharper than any blade. Now there's no master to protect you, boy, Wong growled. Let's see if your mouth is as quick as your fists. Bruce didn't back down. He knew he couldn't fight them all at once, at least, not without seriously injuring someone. But I also knew I couldn't show fear. 5 against 1? How honorable, he said, sarcastically. You should have brought more men. Wong signaled to his henchmen. They advanced. The first blow came from a bat, aimed at his head. Bruce dodged, feeling the wind pass near his temple. He counterattacked with a side kick, hitting the attacker's knee, who fell screaming. Another man tried to grab him from behind, but Bruce ducked and spun, using his opponent's own weight to throw him at Wong. The leader of the group staggered, but did not fall. With a roar, he drew a knife from inside his coat. No more games. Bruce saw the blade shine in the moonlight. He took a step back, assessing. Wong advanced, attempting a diagonal strike. Bruce dodged, but the knife grazed his arm, opening a superficial cut. Blood flowed, hot and sticky. Now you're going to die, Wong hissed. Bruce took a deep breath. He didn't want to kill. But he couldn't die there either. When Wang attacked again, Bruce didn't dodge. Instead, he moved closer, entering his opponent's guard. With one fluid movement, he grabbed Wang's wrist and twisted, forcing him to release the knife. Then, with a sharp blow to the throat, he left him breathless, falling to his knees. The remaining henchmen hesitated. Bruce picked up the knife from the floor and pointed it at them. "Do you still want to continue?" They retreated, dragging Wang with them. Bruce didn't pursue them. He knew that this wouldn't be the last time he crossed paths with Wang. But I also knew that, at that moment, the lesson had been taught. The legacy of pain. Years later, Bruce Lee was already a legend. His name echoed in Hong Kong, in the United States, in the world. But one quiet night, while training alone in his Seattle apartment, a letter arrived. "Do you remember me, Lee? I remember you. And now, I have something you want." The letter wasn't signed, but Bruce recognized the handwriting. Wang packing. He burned the letter, but the warning stuck in his mind. Wang had become a powerful man, linked to the triads. And he hadn't forgotten the humiliation. Months later, while filming Chinese Dragon, Bruce received another message, this time, delivered by a hooded man backstage at the studio. A photo of his family, with a single word written on the back, "Next." Bruce didn't hesitate. He knew Wang wouldn't stop until one of them was dead. So he decided to act first. The last lesson. The meeting was scheduled in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Hong Kong. Bruce arrived alone, as agreed. Wang was there, surrounded by armed men. "Finally, the great Bruce Lee comes to me," Wang said, smiling. "I expected more fear in your eyes." Bruce didn't respond. He just took off his coat, revealing that he was unarmed. "If you want to kill me, do it yourself. Or are you too cowardly to fight alone?" Wang laughed, but his men didn't. They looked at their boss, waiting for an order. Wang hesitated. Then, with a wave, he ordered them to retreat. "All right, Lee. Let's finish this like men." They faced each other in the center of the warehouse. Wang attacked first, with a heavy punch. Bruce dodged, but Wang was faster than before, trained, dangerous. He landed a kick to Bruce's ribs, making him flinch. Bruce coughed, tasting blood. But he smiled. "You've improved. But you're still slow." Wang growled and charged forward again. This time, Bruce didn't dodge. He received the blow, absorbing the impact with a turn of his body, and counterattacked with a series of punches to Wang's solar plexus. The man staggered, but did not fall. "Is that all you have?" Wang teased, spitting out blood. Bruce didn't respond. He knew this fight wasn't just physical. It was a battle of wills. And he couldn't lose. With a quick movement, Bruce grabbed Wang's wrist and applied an armbar, forcing him to his knees. Then, with a precise blow to the base of the skull, he knocked him unconscious. Wang's men advanced, but Bruce already had one of their men's guns in his hand. "Back off," he ordered. "Or the next one to fall will be your boss. Permanently." They obeyed. Bruce looked at Wang, lying on the ground, breathing heavily. "I could kill you now. But I'm not like you. The pain I caused you today will be the last. If we cross paths again, I will have no mercy." He threw the gun on the ground and walked out of the warehouse, leaving Wang and his men behind. Epilogue: The Price of Legend. Bruce Lee never saw Wang packing again. But the shadow of that confrontation haunted him for years. He knew that in his world, violence was never truly left behind. Each fight, each enemy, left a mark. In 1973, when his life was tragically and mysteriously cut short, many speculated about the true reasons. Some whispered that Wang had returned. Others said that triads never forgot. But Bruce was already gone. And his legend of fast, relentless, indomitable, remained. Because, in the end, he had won every battle. Except the last one. The Last Dragon. The years following the warehouse confrontation were one of fire and silence. Bruce Lee immersed himself in cinema, transforming his pain into art, his anger into choreography that left the world open-mouthed. But behind the smiles on screen, there was a shadow that not even success could dispel. Wong Packing disappeared like smoke. Some said he had fled to Macau, others that he was killed by his own men. But Bruce knew the truth, a man like Wong didn't die easily. He waited. And men like him always came back. In 1973, Hong Kong was hotter than ever. Enter the Dragon was about to be released, and Bruce was a rising star. But something was eating him up inside. Throbbing headaches, an exhaustion that no amount of training could alleviate. Doctors talked about stress, overwork. He laughed and said it was just the price of being the best. On the evening of July 20th, Bruce had dinner with Raymond Chow, his producer. They talked about the future, about new projects. He looked excited, but his eyes betrayed an uneasiness. When they said goodbye, Bruce mentioned a strange pain in the back of his head. It must be the air conditioning, he joked. Raymond laughed. Take care of yourself, little dragon. The world can't lose you. Bruce smiled. The world won't lose me. But the world had already decided otherwise. That same night, he went to the apartment of Betty Ting Pei, an actress with whom he had a discreet relationship. They drank tea, talked. Bruce complained of a persistent headache. Betty offered a painkiller. He accepted. What happened next has never been completely clarified. Some say he fell asleep on the couch and never woke up. Others whisper that there was a muffled sound, a scream cut in half. When Betty tried to wake him up, he was already cold. The autopsy would speak of cerebral edema, an allergic reaction to the medication. But rumors spread like wildfire. It was Wong, they said on the streets. The triads poisoned him. He knew too much. Bruce Lee, the man who defied the world, died alone, in an apartment that wasn't his, with a headache and a secret he would take to his grave. The funeral was a spectacle. Thousands of people filled the streets of Hong Kong, mourning the man who had shown the world that an Asian could be strong, fast, invincible. But among the crowd, one face remained impassive. Wong Packing watched from afar, dressed in a dark suit, his eyes hidden behind sunglasses. He didn't cry. He didn't smile. He just watched, as if expecting something more. When the coffin was closed, Wong turned and disappeared into the crowd. Years later, an old kung fu master in Kowloon told a story to a young student. Bruce Lee didn't die because of medicine, said the master, lighting a cigarette. He died because he looked into the abyss for too long. And the abyss looked back. The student laughed. That's just a legend. The master smiled, sadly. All legends begin with the truth. And then, as if he knew he was being watched, he looked out the window. For a second, he thought he saw a familiar figure, standing on the corner, watching. But when he blinked, there was no one else. The legend of Bruce Lee never died. She grew, multiplied, became something greater than man. Movies, books, statues, endless debates about who would have won in a fight against Muhammad Ali or Chuck Norris. But somewhere, in the shadows of Hong Kong, Wong Packing grew old. His hair turned white, his hands shook. He still dreamed of the sound of Bruce's punches, of the sparkle in the eyes of the man who had humiliated him. The night he died, alone in a cheap hotel room, Wong smiled. Finally, he whispered. Now let's see who's the fastest. And then, like Bruce, he closed his eyes forever. The world moved on. New fighters emerged, new legends were forged. But sometimes, on full moon nights, when the wind blows hard through the streets of Hong Kong, some swear they hear the sound of a muffled scream, followed by the echo of a perfect punch. And, for an instant, the dragon flies again. The dragon's last breath. Wong Packing did not die in peace. His death was one long sigh, as if each breath was a last attempt to prove something to himself. In the years following his defeat by Bruce Lee, he had become a shadow of his former self. The rings forgot him, the students abandoned him, and even his old rivals, who once feared him, now laughed behind his back. Hong Kong, the city that saw him born as a fighter, had swallowed him like a ghost. But Wong hadn't forgotten. For the past few months, he has trudged through the dank alleys of the Kowloon district, where the neons twinkled like dying stars. He survived by clandestine betting on cockfights and small scams on unsuspecting tourists. His body, once a precision machine, now bowed under the weight of years and hatred. Still, every night, before going to sleep, he would sit on the floor of his musty room and repeat the same movements, the 1-inch punch, the fist twist, the Wing Chun stance. His muscles no longer responded like they used to, but his body's memory was stubborn. Faster than Bruce? Laughed the young fighters in the gyms. He couldn't even lift his arms at the end. Wong listened but didn't respond. He knew that the truth was not in the ring, but between the lines of history. Bruce Lee had died young, his body betrayed by cerebral edema. A stupid death, without glory, without revenge. Wong, on the other hand, had lived long enough to see the world forget. And that was worse than any knockout. That last night, he lay on the hotel's narrow bed, the floorboards creaking under his weight. The air was heavy, filled with the smell of frying and sewage rising from the streets. Wong closed his eyes and, for the first time in decades, he didn't see Bruce Lee's face. He saw his own reflection, young, strong, invincible. He saw himself at his peak, when the nickname Iron Hand made even the oldest masters tremble. He saw himself winning, always winning. And then, like a flash of lightning, the image changed. Bruce stood before him, smiling, his dark eyes shining with that irritating confidence. "You were never fast enough, Wong," said the voice in his head. "Not strong. Not good. Just stubborn." Wong tried to get up, but his body didn't respond. A sharp pain shot through his chest, as if something inside him was tearing apart. He coughed, and the taste of blood filled his mouth. But even so, he smiled. Finally, he whispered, "Now let's see who's the fastest." And then, like Bruce, he closed his eyes forever. The legacy of hatred. The news of Wong Paking's death spread like a rumor in martial arts academies. Some said he died alone, abandoned even by the ghosts of his past. Others swore that in recent days he had defied death in imaginary fights, punching the air as if he could still win. But the truth was, no one cared enough to investigate. Except one man. Lam Kwok Leung, a former student of Wong's, now a respected master in Macau, was the one who found the body. He entered the fetid room and saw the old man lying on the bed, his fingers still clenched into a closed fist. Lam hesitated before touching the body, as if afraid that Wong's anger was still there, lurking. When he finally turned him around, he saw the smile on the master's face. A smile of victory. "He died happy," Lam muttered, more to himself than to the police officers who arrived later. But it wasn't happiness. It was relief. The wind and the punch. Years passed. Hong Kong has changed. Skyscrapers grew, swallowing the alleys where Wong had wandered. Wing Chun academies multiplied, but few taught the true essence of the art: patience, precision, sacrifice. Students only wanted techniques to win in competitions, not to master themselves. But on nights with a full moon, when the humidity stuck to their skin and the wind howled between the buildings, some still swore they heard something. A muffled scream. One quick step. The sound of a punch cutting through the air. And, for an instant, the dragon flew again. Not Bruce Lee. Not Wong Paking. But the spirit of the fight itself, indomitable, eternal, always ready to challenge anyone who dared to doubt.